So we're coming into it now.
All right.
I came through 55th.
Coming up here on this green line that runs through here?
This is the green line.
All right.
On the other side of Washington Park, there's the red line.
Okay. One of the things, when you look at it on paper, you look at the map, a lot of things are already in place here. You have public transportation. You have easy access to the Dan Ryan. You have a great neighborhood amenity in the park itself.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot in place. There's a lot of that there.
Great infrastructure.
I know that your report actually goes back a little bit, and it even kind of goes back and traces back the history of the neighborhood itself, doesn't it?
It does.
And so just when you think of Washington Park, just when you're describing it as a neighborhood, talking a little bit about its background to somebody who's visiting for the first time, what do you tell them about the neighborhood?
Well, I had to show you our logo. I always contextualize Washington Park within Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of our greatness, right? We're part of so many of the great Chicago traditions. One being, we're kind of born out of the era of the World's Fairs.
Right.
When you think about Washington Park, it's not identical, but think about some of your grander designs in Kenwood and those areas surrounding the park. So that's the first thing I think of is, and what this neighborhood began as palatial urban living, or the first suburbs actually. There's a house, Raber House, that sits on Perry. It's a historic, I think, like last post-Civil War building. One of the buildings that survived the fire.
Yeah.
It's on Perry, but its original address was on State.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea of how big the estates were at one point in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that's your baseline.
Okay.
Great. It's Chicago, so it's great architecture in our housing stock and great boulevards and all of that. You move into the Great Migration, neighborhood turns. A lot of the wealthier whites leave the neighborhood, so you lose some of the palatial land use. More tenements are built. So by 1950, you had a population of 57,000 in Washington Park. Today, the population is something like 13,500.
Gotcha.
As we've developed new strategies for dealing with problems of affordable housing and that kind of thing, opportunity is beginning to arise again. We see ourselves as a neighborhood, probably could argue, the neighborhood best suited in Chicago to thrive in the 21st century. We're being very smart about our planning. We have great infrastructure. So this is some of the new.
Yeah, these some things we're looking at right here. These condominiums or apartments. What do we have here?
This housing stock, I believe, is apartment.
Okay.
I can't remember if it's one group of homes over here is seniors who are raising their grandchildren.
Okay. We have some walk-up homes here.
And then these are townhomes.
Yeah. Obviously seeing some for sale signs out here. You have some, looks like some condo conversions right there. Still a lot of empty lots.
50%.
50%, wow. Are those, are we talking burnouts there? What are,
No, just over so in the 1950s, they started building all this tenement housing. By the 1960s, or no, in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, they're building tenement houses.
Right.
Like, you familiar with, like, Raising in the Sun
Sure.
or Native Son?
Sure, absolutely.
Those take place in tenements like the ones that used to exist in this community.
Right.
Starting in the 50s, but hitting full swing in the 60s. That's why King was here, protesting tenement buildings.
Right.
So federal government comes in, they just start tearing stuff down. You're in violation. It became a federal crime, basically, to operate these buildings.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But some, for instance, like a building like that still has great, I should circle around, I'm sorry, I forget.
Oh, no, that's fine.
They were able to salvage. And now what you have is one, architecture and design that can't really be matched today. Master Mason built buildings, and the ability to come in and recreate that in all its grandeur.
Yeah.
And then why that's attractive to developers is, if you notice, I don't know if you're familiar with the developments over in the Quad communities, but over on Drexel, they built new graystones next to existing graystones.
Okay. Yeah.
So, it's an opportunity